Welcome to La Petite Pause, your little break in the day. Tonight, I will tell you a story from Cameroon about a child, a river, and the power of ancestors. It is a story both mystical and true in spirit. The story of Naya, the child of the river. In a small village at the edge of the Sanaga River lived a little girl named Naya. She was only 4 years old, wild and full of life. She climbed trees faster than the boys, and she chased ghosts in the compound and laughed so loud that the neighbors could hear her across the road. Her mother, the first wife of her father, had passed away not long after giving birth to her. So Naya grew up under the roof of her father and his second wife. The second wife, however, did not love Naya, and every time she looked at Naya, she saw the face of the first wife, the one that the village still praised, the one her husband had truly loved. And in her heart, bitterness grew. The stepmother's voice was sweet when the father was near. She smiled, she fussed, she pretended to care, but when no one was watching, her words were sharp. You troublemaker. You remind me of her too much. Why did you have to be born a girl? One afternoon, the stepmother told her, "Come, Naya, let's fetch water." They walked down to the river, its waters rushing fast from the rains. When they reached the edge, the stepmother's eyes turned cold. She grabbed the child and, without a word, pushed her into the current. The water swallowed Naya whole. But the child did not scream. She floated, weightless, her eyes wide. And then, beneath her surface, a light began to shimmer. From the depths of the river rose figures with skin as dark as night and hair that glowed gold, copper, indigo, green. Their eyes were ancient and their voices like drums and wind combined. They encircled Naya and lifted her gently. "Child," one whispered, "do not fear the water. The water is your blood. We are the foremothers of your line." Another said, her hair shining like flame, "We were watching. We will always watch." They carried her deeper, but Naya did not drown. Instead, she breathed as though the river itself filled her lungs. "You are never to die of water," they told her. "You are bound to it. You are its daughter." They showed her how to stay the current with her hand, how to call the fish to her, how to listen to the song of the waves. They taught her words of power and spells of protection. And when they returned her to the surface, she stood calmly on the bank, her small body dripping, but her spirit blazing. The stepmother gasped. She had expected to see the river take the girl away, but there Naya stood, alive, breathing, her eyes glowing like the moonlight on water. From that day, the ancestors visited Naya often, sometimes in her dreams, sometimes in the rivers, where others swore they saw shadows moving, bright hair flashing beneath the waves. The villagers began to whisper, "That child is not ordinary. She walks with the river." Her father began to notice too. When he asked, "Who taught you these songs?" Naya only answered softly, "My mother's." The stepmother grew afraid. Her jealousy burned until one day, in front of it, villagers, she cried out, "This girl is cursed! She is not natural!" But the people had seen enough. They had seen the river protect Naya. They had seen how Naya glowed when she spoke of her ancestors. They had begun to believe that the spirit had chosen her. It was the stepmother, not the child, that they began to fear. At last, her wickedness was revealed. The elders learned what she had done, how she had thrown the little girl into the water, and they judged her by the same fate she had chosen for her stepdaughter. The villagers led her to the edge of a great waterfall. She cried, struggled, but there was no mercy. They cast her into the roaring water. But unlike Nala, she was not cradled. The ancestors waited below. And when she sank into the depths, the river swallowed her for good. From then on, Naya grew up knowing that she was never alone. And every time she played by the water, every time she whispered her spells, the foremothers were near, shimmering, laughing, guiding. Her heart filled with the love she had lost when her mother died, and the river became her mother, her shield, her inheritance. And because Naya was never a child of the river, because Naya was a child of the river, and the river never let its own go. And you're listening to the story of Naya, the child of the river. Stories like these remind us that in the face of cruelty, protection and truth will always rise. Thank you for sharing this little break with me here on La Petite Pause. I look forward to seeing you in the next story. Good night.